Production of the J.R. Eldridge Show is made possible with financial support from Turner & Turner, attorneys at law. Blake Bell of Edward Jones Investments. The accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning & Plyler, PLLC. Welch Funeral Home. Roger Wingfield of State Farm Insurance. Southern Bancorp. Southwest Sporting Goods. Taylor King and Associates. Mary and Martha's Florist and Gifts. Price and Company. Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker. Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone. And Farm Bureau Insurance of Clark County. This is the J.R. Eldridge Show with the head coach of the Arkadelphia Badgers. Joining Coach Eldridge today is your host, Caleb Byrd.
Welcome back to another week of the J.R. Eldridge Show. We're glad to see you here, and we're going to break down a big win over Arkadelphia's game last Friday against Ashdown. The Badgers topped Ashdown, a big margin of victory at the end there. And it was really a great all-around performance from the Badgers. Starting off a little slow, let Ashdown score on the first drive of the game, pick up 7 points, and then held them scoreless for the rest of it. And so really nice performance from Arkadelphia.
Yeah, really excited about the way our team responded after that first drive. Did really good on offense, defense, and special teams. Felt like our coaches had come up with a great plan for our players, and players were able to execute that plan. Had a couple of miscues during that first drive, and then, throughout the game, obviously there were things that we've got to continue to look at to clean up. But overall, felt really pleased with the way that we practiced last week, and then obviously the way we played the game.
Yeah, and on offense especially, Coach, the offense just came out there, was firing the whole game, relentless the whole time, running, passing, all aspects of the offense were really working together. Yeah,
and that's, our offensive line continued to play really well. We were able to run the ball very effectively, and we were able to clean up some things from the previous game versus Haskell Harmony Grove. Our tracks at the running back position and quarterback position were much better this week, allowing us to hit our running plays more downhill. The design downhill runs were much quicker hitting this week because of our tracks. And our offensive line just really dominating up front. So I felt really good about that. And then obviously defensively, being able to get pressure. Ashdown really had a good quarterback, and their passing game had really been good versus some of their previous opponents. So working on the front end and the back end together with our coverage was a really positive thing on Friday night as well. Thought we were able to create turnovers and just really did a good job.
All right, Coach, let's take a look at the highlights from the game. Starting off, we're going to give Ashdown the football, the first drive of the game. Decent field kick return coverage here, not letting them get to the 30-yard line. Really all night, the kick coverage was pretty good.
Yeah, we had one letdown where they got in our territory on a kickoff return. Other than that, we had 2 TFLs on our kickoff coverage, which is really good.
First drive of the game here, Ashdown gets a couple big passes. That was one right there. Quarterbacks was pretty good at throwing on the run.
Yeah, quarterback was really good. Basically we had a miscue in coverage right there, so they were able to take advantage of it. We brought a pressure and weren't able to get home.
Pump and go, turns the cornerback the wrong way, ends up for a big pass play down into the red zone.
Yeah, we just, again, we had these miscues defensively to start off right here, and then we leave a guy uncovered. This was the first time they showed a pass out of this formation, so we've got to do a better job of getting our eyes right and making sure we do the right thing there.
Ashdown makes the extra point. That puts them up 7-0 here early. Arkadelphia's offense takes the field, good field position to start after Ashdown tried to go for an onside kick, gave Arkadelphia good field position to start here on offense.
Great job recovering that onside kick, and then obviously both those runs were really good right there to get us in great field position, get us closer to the end zone. Kyron Harrison on a great block leading up for Buster earlier. And then this is kind of what I was talking about. Our tracks were much, much better this week, able to hit the hole where it's meant to be hit. Offensive line did a great job dominating there in the red zone.
And a great job on the lead block from Lorenzo Lawson opening up the hole. So missed extra point leads it to be 6-7 here early. So Ashdown still has a slight lead, but the defense is starting to come up big here on Ashdown's next drive.
Yeah, kick coverage was really good. We got a TFL right there. Then we were able to defensively pick it up a little bit. We've got to keep our eyes up and make that tackle. Trey's got to make a tackle earlier, right there behind the line of scrimmage. But again, just we've got to continue to put on more steam. Defensively, we're able to do that.
There you saw another good throw on the run, and I want to talk about this right here. That's Lorenzo Lawson making a tackle 20 yards downfield, defensive lineman.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that all of our coaches talk about all the time is how hard Lorenzo plays on both sides of the ball. It's just part of who he is. This is a great example of you know, our front linebackers and secondary working together for this huge TFL. We've got everything covered up on the back end, and then they have to hit really it's a screen, but Kai does a great job making a play right there.
Play action here gets Ashdown to bite. Only one cornerback and one safety back in coverage, and Buster really had his pick of receivers. He picked Pfeiffer, and it was a big touchdown play.
Yeah, it was huge for us. You know, when you run the football as much as we do, we feel like play action is huge for us. So we were able to get those safeties down, throw it over the top of them. You know, one of the things that people may not have seen, Kai Harrison did a great job of carrying out his fake right there, making the defenders think that he had the ball.
How good Kyron is on the ground. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in this game. Yeah, you really gotta watch out for those fakes. Defense coming back out. They stopped them in the last drive. Badgers have a lead now, 12-7 after the missed 2-point conversion. As we move into the second quarter, defense still playing pretty well.
Yeah, we've got, I mean, really we create 3 loss of yardage plays right there, which makes for a bad offensive series for Ashdown. I thought this was a great punt return right here. Kyler came up and caught it on the run. We had a great block, what I felt like was a great block. They called it holding. We had our hands inside, 45-degree angle at our elbows, and we're running our feet. Really, we were just dominating right there, so we got it brought back a little bit, but great job by Kyler Pfeiffer.
19-7 the score now after the big touchdown run from Harrison. Once again, hitting that hole, making a cut on a linebacker, getting to the end zone pretty easily.
Yeah, it was a great job by him and the offensive line. That was our heavy personnel where Sammy and Ricky Rogers are in at the same time at that the 2-dog look right there. You know, and again, our defense getting a stop. We've got to be better on a fake punt right here. We've got to finish through the play. You know, Ashdown was yelling Peter, which means for us to get away from the ball, so it kind of left him open. But we were able to come up with a stop right there. Interesting
strategy from Ashdown. Right here, Arkadelphia's offense comes back out after the failed fake punt. And some good running plays, and then here once again hitting Ashdown with a long pass, just vertical route, but that's a touchdown for Ricky Rogers.
Yeah, I think it's his first touchdown on the year. That was a great catch right there, great throw by Buster, you know, and really well executed play. We hit that 6 times in practice. I mean, it's just another you know, piece of evidence that tells you really practice. The way you practice is going to be the way you play, and that play says it all right there.
There's a good play on the quarterback. It's going to be called an incomplete pass, and so there's going to be a punt down to Pfeiffer. Had a great punt return last time out, and he kind of fumbled this one a bit, not able to get any kind of return on it.
Yeah, we got to make sure that we're in the correct spot. We should have been on the 50 right there. We would have been right in position to make that catch. Jason Campbell, he had that previous sack, and he had 3 sacks and 4 TFLs on the night. He was our defensive player of the game. but we get it in great field position. After that punt right there, we're able to drive here.
Yeah, so once again, another big drive. Here's a pass play to Pfeiffer. That's his second passing reception touchdown of the game. He had a really nice game out there at receiver.
He really did. He did a great job catching the football. Buster did a great job throwing the football. He was 6 for 6 with 155 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes. And really, he was able to see that. That wasn't a design play. It's kind of a read play by him. He was able to see the bubble open and get it to Kyler right there.
Here's a fumble from Ashdown. Arkadelphia recovers. At this point, the Badgers just rolling. Another touchdown run here from Kyle Harrison.
Yeah, and all of these plays that kind of roll over into the next series, we're able to put on more steam. Offense, defense, special teams working together. Those are all of these plays. We call it taking their soul with violence. And basically that's kind of what we want to do with, the rollover effect of dominating in all 3 phases of the game. Felt like we were able to do that a little bit here.
Right, and so Badgers hit the 2-point conversion, trying to get that mercy roll in before halftime, and defense doing their part, keeping them without scores.
Yeah, I thought Witherspoon came back from that first time that he kind of gave up that ball, did a great job in coverage, stayed on the top shoulder, made a good play on the ball. So again, putting them in bad field position, putting us in great field position, and then our offense is able to continue to get something going here.
All right, here's a nice passing catch. Thomas, once again, a completion. He had no incompletions on the game, as you said earlier. And he's really showing a lot at quarterback. Is this kind of a thing where it's making you maybe think about whenever Cannon comes back from his injury, who you're going to be playing at quarterback? Or?
Well, when you've got 2 of those those are 2 of the best athletes on our football team. So you want both of them on the field at the same time. So we're really looking forward to both of them being on the field at the same time. Buster really adds something as a wide receiver. Buster can't throw to himself, so we're looking forward to having Cannon back so that they can both be on the same field at the same time.
I'm sure whenever you have Cannon back on the field, it's going to create a lot of things for the defense to think about, having Buster a wide receiver, how well he's thrown, and Cannon a quarterback.
Yeah, we'll definitely be more multiple, or be able to be more multiple as we move forward, and Cannon's able to come back.
Right, so Arkadelphia got the touchdown there before the half, and that sent it into the good sportsmanship rule. So now second team offense coming out here in the second half with a rolling clock.
Yeah, it's really, we had some good highlights from our second team offensive line. We get a couple plays where they really do a good job. You can see Braylon Bailey, he ended up with, I think, 56 yards. On about 4 or 5 carries, and he's really coming on. He had no fumble mishaps like we did versus Fountain Lake, so it makes me really excited about being able to put him in key situations.
Alex Loy with a great punt right there. He's not the first team punter, but he punted it all the way down within the 5-yard line. Defense recovers a fumble. Offense can't really get anything going there within the 10-yard line. Go for the field goal. Can't get it, and so it sends the defense back on the field.
Yeah, it was a huge punt. Love for Trey Bledsoe to let it keep rolling, to get him at the 1-inch line if possible, but great punt by Loy, almost I can't remember, maybe a 65-yard net maybe, but that was huge for us.
Right, and so defense back out here again, a good run, but Arkadelphia's defense here and offense, both sides of the football, you're playing against the first teamers from Ashdown still, and they're doing really well.
Yeah, that was our goal. After the Fountain Lake game, we felt like we should have kept them out of the box with our second group, and we should have scored with our first group. We missed that our second group. We missed the field goal earlier. We were hoping to get that in so that we could get both of those goals. That was a huge play by Timmy rushing right there for the sack. I felt like our guys, our second defense really came on and did a great job. Darian Beard, Alex Turley, some of those guys were really making plays out there. Really excited to see them come on and make plays against Ashdown's first group.
Right, and when you're watching these younger guys out there, the sophomores, the juniors, how excited does that get you for the future of your football team?
It's really, it's exciting to see their growth and their development, how they've been able to get better in practice going against our first team defense or our first team offense when they're given a look. And that, in my opinion, that matters as much or more. We've never really played JV since I've been the head coach, a JV game. A lot of times, we've got too many guys that might be younger that would be starting in the football game on Friday nights, and I don't want to get anybody hurt in a game like that. But where we get our reps and where we're able to get better is those guys really getting after it in practice. I mean, they're getting more reps in practice than they would even in a JV game. So that's kind of been our philosophy, helping them to develop and coaching them up as they are playing against our first unit, and then mixing them in when we go twos or even when the next guy has to step up in practice. We know who those guys are. I mean, Landon Cohen, he's a great example. Alex Lloyd's a great example. Braylon Bailey's a great example of that. I mean, Landon Cohen, he was a Defensive Player of the Week for us last week. He's been given a great look in practice all year, and then we're able to put him in versus Fountain Lake, versus Haskell Harmony Grove, and then this past week versus Ashdown, and he's done a great job.
And so for you, it seems like practice is a huge part of your game plan each and every week. I mean, for all coaches it is, but it seems like especially at Arkadelphia, you put a huge emphasis on how well you practice. And, we talked after the loss to Nashville, you said, well, it wasn't a great week of practice. And so how have you seen the practice improve as the year's gone on?
Well, that's, every week is a new week, every day is a new day. Just because you have a good practice one day doesn't mean that the next practice is going to be good. So what we'd like to do during a week of practice is build on it. We've got Mental Monday on Mondays, so we're trying to digest that game plan and really see who we're supposed to block, see where we're supposed to fit, see what the opponent is doing so that we can attack those areas that we think we should attack. And then on Tuesday we turn it up a notch so that in practice we're going more full speed. And then we've got No Rambo Wednesday when we try not to have to repeat plays because of missed assignments. And then Thursday, we call it Perfect Thursday. So when we go through a week of practice, we're trying to progress throughout the week, and it is a huge part of our practice. And we're only going to be as good as how good our look is too. So there's a lot of pressure put on those guys who are given a look for the opponent that week. In practice, you're out at practice, it's a 5-to-1 ratio, really. We have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of practice to one game per week. So it's a 5-to-1 ratio, so your practices better be where you're winning the football game. Right.
And it looks like your team's been practicing really well because they had a great performance once again. One of those guys, one of the areas of the team that I think really stood out against Ashdown, has really stood out all season, has been the line. Both sides of the football, the line has just been remarkable. And now you got some guys playing both sides of the football, like Lorenzo Lawson. So talk a little bit about your line, both offense and defense, and how important that's been to your success this year.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of experience on our offensive line and our defensive line, so they've played a lot of football, and that I think that pays off. They understand, and they've played the same teams the last 2 years in a row, or this will be the third year in a row where we're playing these same teams. So, them already understanding what they're going to get and being able to really execute in practice, and then they understand what it takes as far as the energy and the effort and the focus that we've got to have in practice to really be great on Friday nights. So that leads to good leadership from them. I've just been really pleased with our offensive and defensive line. And Terrell Sumler, he's been playing a little bit both ways as well as Lorenzo. Ricky Rogers, he's our defensive end who also plays our dog position. So having those guys out there really, it just adds to the experience level and the leadership level of our football team.
All right, one guy had an amazing week against Ashdown. You said he was the defensive player of the game, was Jason Campbell. He's probably one of the quickest defensive linemen I've seen in high school football.
Yeah, and he's one of the fastest on our football team. Fastest players. Skill guy, defensive lineman. He's one of the top 3 fastest guys on our football team. And he's so tall, long. He's built a lot of muscle mass throughout the years of off season at Arkadelphia. He had 7 unassisted tackles. He had 4 tackles for a loss. He had 3 sacks. That's a huge game for a defensive lineman. So really proud of the way that he's come to work every day in practice and the way he performed Friday night. He's
got to be scary if you're an offensive tackle. You see him line up across from you with that speed. You got to be scared.
Yeah, I would say so. He's a good football player, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do the rest of our season.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the rest of that season. We can pull up the scores from last week from around the conference. Arkadelphia, of course, 49-7 over Ashdown. Malvern topped Fountain Lake 41-16. They're coming up the week after next for Arkadelphia. Nashville beat Harmony Grove, and then next week's opponent's Bauxite fell to Robinson 35-14. But that was a much closer game than the scoreline might show. If we can go to the conference standings, that Bauxite-Robinson game was 14-14 going into the fourth quarter. So now looking at a 4-way tie at the top of the conference between Robinson, Bauxite, Nashville, and Arkadelphia. So really anything could happen in these last 2 games. So it's imperative the Badgers finish out strong.
Yeah, it is. And we're hoping that we can continue to kind of climb the mountain of the last part of the season, where we continue to put on more steam, continue to work upward to start playing the best football that we can play every week. So that's kind of what we're looking forward to. We know all that stuff is going to play out in the end. A lot of that's all we can control is how we execute and how hard we play. In our upcoming game, and we've got a tough opponent this week. Look forward to this week of practice where we're going to do the same things that we've been doing each week. Just hopefully continue to bring that energy, that effort, and that focus to practice so that we can continue to get better every week.
Right, and so this week against Bauxite, you're going away to Bauxite. Number one, that's a hard place to play. They call it the pit, and it's like the whole stadium's on top of you when you're on the field. But then number two, Bauxite, a very well-coached team, a disciplined team, and a team that's played well this season. They've only got that 1 loss from last week against Robinson. Can you talk a little bit about what we're going to see from them? I know earlier in the year they switched up their offense a little bit. Have they gone back to what they're used to running?
Well, they're in the they were running the dead tee last year, and then they'd get in the pro tee, which that's the majority of their offense. They will spread it out a little bit, but versus Robinson in the first half, Robinson's offense only had 15 snaps. Again, I think you can expect from Bauxite to try to keep the ball away from the opponent offense by really eating the clock up and running the football. They do a good job up front. Their offensive line is humongous. So we've got to be ready to win with speed, agility, and technique against that big offensive line. We've got to make sure that at our linebacker spots we're fitting in the correct spots to get them off the field, and that we don't have any miscues as far as jumping off sides because of their snap count, which they were able to get Robinson on in that first half. So they're trying to limit your possessions. They also work their onside kick. So we've got to be ready to recover that and make sure that we don't turn the ball over. We secure the football, whether that's on special teams or on offense. We've got to secure the ball, and then we've got to create turnovers defensively. So I'm looking forward to talking to our team about that today in practice and moving forward this week. Can't wait for the challenge of playing at Bauxite.
Yeah, and so talk a little bit about offensively. How do you see your team attacking them on offense?
Well, defensively, depending on what personnel we have out there, whether we're in two backs, one tight end, or one back, they like an 8-man box defensively. So, hopefully we're able to continue doing some of the things that we've been doing and take advantage of our play action passes. They normally have a 5-man box, but sometimes when we're in our heavier personnel sets, they'll have a 7-man box. So we've just got to make sure that we understand exactly who we're blocking, when we're running the football, exactly how our spacing should be, at wide receiver when we're throwing the football, and just continuing to execute the plan that's in place. And I feel like our players have done a good job of that up to this point. I feel like they're locked in and engaged, and I think our players are, hopefully they're hungry for some more football.
Right, and so we talked a bit earlier about how this conference standings are lining up, and you got this week against Bauxite, next week against Malvern, and those are two teams that are probably going to be in the playoffs from the 7-4A, almost definitely going to be in the playoffs actually. So two tougher opponents to finish the season. You just played 3 games, which you won pretty handily in 3 straight opponents. So how do you got to focus your team back in? Okay, we got a really tough test coming up.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is, it's really not about who you're playing, it's about how you play. And so continuing to be able to focus on what we've got to improve on, which is really what we try to do on Sundays when we're watching our film. We've been calling it the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we got to continue to do those things well that we've been doing well. Then we got to correct the bad, and then we've got to correct the ugly as well, so that we can continue to just get better as a football team. And we feel like if we can really focus on ourselves as far as trying to chase a perfect game and trying to be perfect in a game on offense, defense, and special teams, that the scoreboard's going to take care of itself.
All right, Coach, and real quick to finish it off, it's a question I bet a lot of Badger fans have on their minds. Are we going to see Cannon Turner this week?
It's a possibility. He's continuing to go through his physical therapy, and we'll continue, as our physical therapist continues to evaluate him, Terry DeWitt continues to evaluate him, we'll be able to, we'll probably know something a little bit closer to game time.
All right, it's going to be an exciting week at Bauxite. 7 p.m. kickoff Friday night. If you can make it up to the game, highly recommend it. It's going to be a great football game with some conference title implications on the line. So try to make it up to the game. If you can't make it, you can watch a live stream at ArkadelphiaBadgerTV.com. So we hope to see you at the game on Friday, and then we hope to see you back here again next week to break down the highlights.
Sponsors of the J.R. Eldridge Show include Southwest Sporting Goods, Taylor King and Associates, Mary and Martha's Florist and Gifts, Price and Company, Doctors Rob and Gary Rucker, Eccles, Thompson and Kneebone, Farm Bureau Insurance of Clark County, Turner & Turner, Attorneys at Law, Blake Bell of Edward Jones Investments, the accounting firm of Turner, Rogers, Manning and Plyler, Welch Funeral Home, Roger Wingfield of State Farm Insurance, and Southern Bancorp. The J.R. Eldridge Show is produced each week by the Rogers Department of Communication at Ouachita Baptist University.